Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. So, which order blocks should you use? Okay, which order blocks hold weight? Which ones are gonna, what ones are gonna get blown past? What ones are gonna have price react off of? How can we tell the difference, right? So, I just want to show you this example on the Euro US dollar on a trade that's playing out now. Okay, so starting on the higher time frame, right? On the monthly, you can see that we've been pushing up after we had that spring from our monthly order block, which I'll explain in a minute. And we've got some we've got monthly structure, okay. And we've also got this monthly high looking left as well. So if we drop down to the lower time frame, we can see that we hit an order block in this area, okay. Price has been rallying up off of that. And we've had two strong bullish months in a row, right? And we're likely to come above here, test this level, okay, sweep these highs, a bit like we've done here, okay. So we've pulled back, hit an order block or some sort of propulsion block in here, filled in this imbalance, right, and again similar sort of thing here, right. We had some equal lows, okay, hit a higher time frame order block and rallied up off of that, obviously taking these lows as well, right, before starting our run higher. Can we see we're slowly starting to descend now? But as we start to descend, personally, I'd like to see these highs taken out, potentially these highs taken out before we see some sort of rollover or forming some sort of trend line before liquidating that trend line. So maybe something like this, obviously, without trying to predict too far into the future, right? You want to ideally just react off of what actually happens, right? But it's nice just to potentially stay one step ahead, forming something like this, taking out these highs, potentially taking out these highs before liquidating that trend line and moving higher, whether or not we come down to a level down here, moving higher, filling in imbalances through here, maybe mitigating off of an order block through here, right? Before potentially doing something like that. So we've got these levels on the monthly that we'd ideally like to get taken out at some point, right? We know we're pushing up, okay? So we've got 1-2 bullish months in a row, right? So if we just drop down to the daily, okay, you can see that we're starting to push up. Again, look, a similar sort of thing as we've seen here. This is what I'd like to see happen on them higher time frames, right? So we've had them highs there that got taken out, nice strong push through them. As we're pushing through, a nice sort of descending type of movement, right? Again, creating a trend line, generating some highs which we blow through, and then we reverse down off, right? So we've got an order block that's been created through there, okay. And if we zoom out, we've got a higher time frame order block through here, okay, that took out these highs. We generated some highs here, again, a very similar situation, descending type of movement, create an ascending type of movement, sorry, creating a trend line, liquidating that, right, bouncing off of an order block through there, okay, generating some equal lows, again, reacting through there. If we just drop down to the 4 hour, actually, let's just replay this quickly. Drop down to the 4 hour, we might be able to get this a little bit tighter, right? Okay, so there are equal highs. That was the push through, so really sort of that movement there, okay, beginning to end of our order block, right? If we just exit out of that, okay, and then we've got a monthly high here, which we've potentially got which we've got liquidity above as well, right? And we've got an order block, an untested order block through here, okay. So how can we get involved? Which order blocks can we utilize, right? And where can we look to shoot for targets, okay? All right, so now that we know where we've got order blocks, where we've got line liquidity, what levels have been tested and mitigated from, okay, we've had imbalance filled here, right, swept some highs here. We've had multiple order blocks, right, tested through this zone. Some runs of liquidity through there. Again, more trend lines being generated, liquidated, right? So we'd like to see potentially a move down, right, liquidating this trend line, okay? So potentially a move down, liquidating this trend line, hitting some untested order blocks through this level, looking to take the market higher, right? So as we drop down to the 1 hour, right, you can see recently we've had levels that have been liquidated, right? So we had a liquidation of that level, giving us an order block through there, which got mitigated, okay? dropping short, creating more liquidity, okay, at this level, right? Liquidating this trend line, okay, hitting an order block through here, potentially sending price higher, okay? So obviously we know that we've got these levels through here that we may want to at some point take these levels, hit into this higher time frame order block, right, before potentially sending price lower, mitigating this order block, right, before sending price higher again. But again, we don't want to necessarily just keep predicting and not reacting off of what's happening, okay? So what has actually happened here? Obviously we're expecting higher prices. Price doesn't have to come down here and hit these levels and bounce off, right? So staying reactive with what's happening. If we just pull this back, right, what has happened to price recently? Well, our overall market bias is bullish, right? We've been pushing down. We know we've liquidated this trend line. We've got a lot of liquidity above, okay? And we've had, you know, we've been stopping people out, accumulating positions, banks accumulating positions to take this market higher to, you know, reach our higher potential destinations, okay? So with all that in mind, knowing that the market can come down here, right, we can start looking for long opportunities at this point. You know, we may be getting ready to accumulate some positions to take this long, hitting these order blocks, these higher time frame order blocks and levels of structure before we come down, mitigate off of this and then potentially take prices higher, right? So with that in mind, we can start to look to get involved in long opportunities at these levels, right? So if we drop down to the 15-minute, right, you can see that we've had liquidity being generated there, both sides, right? Run that, creating some imbalance through here, okay, which we take out. Okay, so again, just creating liquidity on both sides, come down, fill the imbalance, take the liquidity from this level, right? Before we see them higher prices, right? Again, this trend, creating a trend line, right, which we then liquidate, okay? Again, look, you can see the sharp, strong push down through that trend line. Coming up, mitigating from that order block, right? Propelling price down into this level. And now we're starting to see that sort of descending movement, right? We've seen a strong push down into here, right? Filling it, price coming back up, filling in the imbalance, coming through here into this level of, into this accumulation level, right? Where we saw the propulsion from this liquidity sweep, right? So this is a nice area we can look at to potentially get long, okay, if our rules are met. Obviously knowing that our overall market bias is bullish on this pair, activity around these areas to suggest that we're likely to push price higher. Obviously we could just push price higher a little bit, take these liquidity from this level before going lower, okay, so expecting to be stopped out, right? But obviously, you know, that's sort of part of the game. You're not going to win every single trade. Every single trade isn't going to play out completely. There's obviously levels both sides that need to be filled and need to be honoured, so we just need to bear that in mind, okay, when we're looking for order blocks. Obviously you don't want what order blocks are going to take hold weight, right? You don't want to be looking at every single order block being right, there was one there, there was one there, there was one there, there was one there, right, and trading off of every single one. Ideally you want to build up an overall market bias, right, and sort of work down from there and build out a thesis from your higher time frame working down, okay, and understanding that, you know, there's multiple levels that you can potentially, you know, if you get stopped out here, don't be afraid to understand that this is just going to be a liquidity grab, right, of this trend line, and we may see a reaction off of this level, right, or this level, okay, or potentially seeing some sort of distribution before we take prices lower, okay, taking out these sort of levels, right, and then going up and taking out higher levels later on, right? So how can we look to get involved in potential long opportunities at this level? So if we just drop down to the 5 minute and just try and refine this entry zone here, okay, try and get this entry a lot nicer, okay, so look, we've got a nice entry there, okay, refined our kill zone a bit more, so the last down candle, okay, that takes the liquidity, right, before we start to see a reversal, okay, so really, you know, we're looking at this zone, so we're looking at this area here to look for some potential manipulation before we take price higher, or just some straight mitigation. Okay, so we've seen a little bit there, so you may have already got involved with stops below this low, right? Looking to target this imbalance here, right? And maybe looking to target this higher time frame order block, right? So maybe we partial out right here, this imbalance, okay? And then take some more off at this mitigation level, okay? Okay, so we can see that as we're approaching this level, right, we've also got some liquidity that's been generated below this level, okay? So ideally what we'd like to see down here is some sort of manipulation of this level, right? A tap into this order block before we see higher prices, right? Again, we've got some imbalance there that we may want to partial off of. We've got some order blocks there which may hold some weight, okay? Because obviously we know that we've got these lower levels down here, okay? That, you know, price could quite easily, bearing in mind that we're on a 5-minute time frame, right? We could see price come up, fill this imbalance, hit this order block if it hasn't already been mitigated, or blow past, hit this higher time frame order block before coming down, right, liquidating this trend line, hitting into here before we see the higher prices to our monthly areas, right? Which are, I've lost them, they are, which are here, okay, and here, right? So if we just label these on again, monthly high, right, and then potentially our higher level down there, okay? So potentially where we are, right, where we're trading at the moment, we can potentially see a push all the way up to there, or we could see a retracement back into these levels and a push up to there, or we could just see none and, you know, the market could just completely tank, right? Obviously either is possible, especially as we're building a trend line through here, right? You know, we could quite easily see a liquidation of that and then potentially higher prices, okay? Okay, so now I've got a general market bias, right? I know where the liquidity is lying, I know what has happened previously, I know the order blocks that have been untested, what ones are likely to hold, right? I just want to bring on some more confirmation. All right, so as price is moving down into my zone, right? You know, I know what I'm looking for when price enters my areas, okay? We may have, you know, you may have already, you could take a position here, right? With stops below this order block. Obviously, it's not ideal. We know that there's an order block below that, right? So you could already be involved looking for, you know, maybe potential profits, target ones at this imbalance or at this old order block, right? Or at this higher time frame order block, okay? Or obviously you can wait for a bit of a more, you know, aggressive entry, or you know, however you want to look at it, aggressive or conservative entry, looking for price to come down and hit this order block. So there's a few things that we can do now. So if we bring on the RSI, you can see that we have actually already had price making this descending type of movement. We've had higher highs on price on the RSI, right, which is a good indication that price is looking like it wants to start reversing. If we bring on the volume as well, right, you can see that if we just mark on the how the volume's acting at the moment, and when we start to get down into this level, if we see an increase in volume, so potentially take an aggressive entry, right, as soon as it gets down into this order block. So we'll have multiple confirmations looking bullish on this pair, okay? So we've got, you know, we've got our RSI looking bullish down there. We'll have our our volume potentially picking up once we get into this order block. We've got liquidity down there that we'd like to see ran, right? We know that we've got imbalance and order blocks above it that we'd like to see filled in and liquidated, right? And again, our higher time frames are looking bullish on this pair, okay? So as we start moving down, right, you can see that the volume starts to slowly increase as we get into that order block, right? So as we get down into our order block, bang, the volume spikes, right? That is a very good sign that we're seeing some buying pressure at this level. So as soon as I saw that, right, I took a buy position at that level, okay, with my primary targets looking here, okay? My target one here, I actually got filled about there. Okay, stops just below this low, right? Again, we've still got divergence on the RSI, okay? And as you can see, volume picked up, bang, right? Nice entry, okay? And you can even look to trail stops, right? All the way up to our higher time frame level, okay? So this is our monthly level of structure, right? So if you want to like take partials off there and let the rest run, you're looking at a 34 risk reward, okay? Or you could have been more aggressive, right? And taken your entry as soon as it hit this order block with the stops just below this order block, and then you're looking at a, you know, like a 70R risk reward, right? Again, there was another in on this if you missed the first opportunity. So we saw this spike up. Again, another descending type of movement, right? As we hit this order block. So we've had this descending movement into this order block, right? Had some liquidity generation through there. And it had an order block through there, which we came back off of. Filled in this imbalance, right? Came up. We saw some nice reaccumulation through here. Took the highs, came back down, tapped into this order block, and we've started to see some higher prices, right? Oh no, that was it through here. Okay, so yeah, so we saw some liquidity being generated. Sorry, my bad. Some liquidity being generated through here. Okay, we saw a push down of that level. This has literally just happened. This is why I just wanted to get this video out to you. There we had an order block through there, right? If we just drop down to the 1 minute, 1 second, let me drop down to the 1 minute. Right, order block through there, okay. Trend line being built, okay, which we liquidated. Okay, trend line, respecting, bang. Big fall off, a lot of imbalance, right, through this level, as you can see. A lot of imbalance through this level. Tap that order block, lovely, okay. Right, so these order blocks that you keep getting, so right, let me just show you something quickly, okay. So these are, because this happened previously back here as well, so these are what we call, I don't know what you call them, like propulsion blocks, okay, or like, you know, sort of like reaccumulation blocks, okay, so like secondary order blocks. So look, you've got an order block through there which we came up, saw a rally off of, right? Creating a new order block which we came back down, saw a rally off of, okay? Again, creating a new order block which we came down, saw a rally off of. And then the same sort of thing happens on the trend lines, right? So this is what would happen. The banks would buy in, okay? So let me just show you something quickly. This is how the liquidity gets generated and then taken, okay? So you get an order block, right? Or you get some consolidation, okay? Liquidity being generated, you get people buying through there, buying through there, selling through there, bang. Sell into the liquidity, we rally off, okay? We create an order block. We push down, see some consolidation, swipe the liquidity, bang, right? We get an order block. Okay, we come back down, we see some we make some liquidity, bang, get an order block, right? So we've got multiple order blocks being built, right? That we need to mitigate off of, or the banks need to mitigate off of. We then get a trend line that's generally formed through these order blocks. We see a swipe of the level. You know, we may bounce off of this is why we need to just be open-minded about the general market direction, and that we could get stopped out of multiple order blocks before we hit one that's going to take us to higher prices. So if this one fails, right, we know that we've got this one that potentially needs mitigating as well, okay? And if this one fails, well, we know we've got this one that potentially needs mitigating as well. So we may get stopped out a couple of times before we reach our higher time frame destination, or obviously, of course, we can just see a complete trend change, right? That's just trading, okay? You're not going to get you're not going to perfectly predict every single move in the market or react perfectly off every single move in the market, okay? Your job as a trader is just to identify high probability reversal points, or, you know, order blocks, mitigation levels, right? you know, ascending, descending patterns and Wyckoff and accumulation and distribution within these channels, where they're likely to hit, how you can get involved and just play the game of probabilities, okay? Or of course you can just go the other route and take a lot more sort of basic approach where you just look for sort of basic patterns, whether it's like, you know, you bring on some indicators like the RSI and you look for just general oversold, overbought conditions, right? Or you use like MACDs or anything, you know, whatever. If you'd sort of build a basic generic system out of something like that which has a statistical edge over the market and just sort of repeat that, but you're still playing the game of probabilities, right? Whatever way you decide to trade, whether it's through smart money concepts or you're just trading sort of algorithmically almost, right? So it's almost like you could put the system that you're trading into a computer and let that trade for you, whether you're trading that way or through smart money concepts and, you know, institutional order flow using order blocks, imbalances, you know, Wyckoff, accumulation and distribution, them type of concepts. You've still got to play a game of probabilities, right? And have the correct risk management, have the correct money management, okay? And that is how you're gonna. The system isn't gonna. You can trade smart money concepts, right? And still lose money hand over fist, right? You can still trade retail concepts or trade algorithmically and lose money hand over fist, right? It's how you identify your trade setups and you identify your key levels and you repeat your plan time after time without hindrance that's going to make or break you, right? However you decide to trade, right? And obviously the correct testing and, you know, and all the rest of it, okay? So anyway, I hope you got value from the video. If you did, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel for similar content, and wherever you are on your trading journey, I hope you have a good week and I'll see you on the next one. I hope you got value from the video. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel for similar content, and wherever you are on your trading journey, I hope you have a good week and I'll see you on the next one.